Ahoy there! See Briney here coming at you with another Genshin Impact video. Now, today I want to talk about who is Hu Tao. Hu Tao is the said to be next character coming out within Genshin Impact. She is a pyro polearm user who is going to work very differently from other characters that we've had before. Now, if you're wondering how I know that she's coming out, there's been a couple little hints that Genshin has left us. I know that she's coming out in the next patch because if you actually go here and you go into your name cards, you can actually scroll down here and Hu Tao's name card is already in the game. Not only that, but when they released the banners, they released the color of each character's element. And when they said more coming in patch 1.3, the text was red, meaning that a pyro character, Hu Tao, a pyro polearm user, would be coming within the next patch. Also, Hu Tao's signature dish, abalone, has entered the game. And when she uses the abalone, she actually makes this Hu Tao Specialty Dish, which is, you know, this cute pie-looking thing with little ghosties on it. So, why ghosts, why Hu Tao, and why butterflies? Well, many stuff in between. So, why does Hu Tao have to deal with ghosts and butterflies and fire and all that stuff? Well, the fire could be the fact that cremation is a way to bury the dead and honor those who have departed. The butterflies, in some cultures, your life is considered being a caterpillar. You are growing and changing, and then when you die, your soul becomes a butterfly. And Hu Tao, being a funeral director, has to do a lot with souls, and that's also why she has ghosts. So her ghost is going to be something that will attack with her and help her pull off some of these moves. So, what does Hu Tao do? Well, if we look at her stats, right off the bat, you're going to notice she has a horrible, like horrendously low base attack, 106. A 4-star character of the same element has 225. So, when you're looking at that, you're obviously thinking, what can Hu Tao do, and should I be worried that Hu Tao might be terrible? And I was kind of thinking that too, but here is where she gets really strong. And she has to do a lot with playing with her health, playing with her life, her HP, and that has to do with a lot of her meaning in character design. Is she's kind of like this quirky trickster who likes to play with life because she likes burying the dead. What she does is basically her basic attack, normal attack, she performs up to 6 strikes. Charged attack consumes certain amount of stamina to lunge forward. Her charged attack is gonna, I hear, works a lot like Zhang Ling's attack, except that it will get a bonus effect because of her spell. Now, her spell is really interesting because if you look at it, she will grow butterfly wings on her back, and it will increase Hu Tao's attack based on her maximum HP. So this is why you don't really have to worry about her base attack. It's because her base HP is so ridiculously high that you can still get good bonuses from this. So, increases Hu Tao's attack based on their maximum HP at the time of entering this state. Attack bonus is gained this way and cannot exceed 400% of Hu Tao's base attack. So the bonus you get from your E, no matter how much health you build, cannot exceed 400% of 106. And it converts all your damage to pyro damage. This is really interesting. So she will do mostly pyro damage. So I would not look into building her with physical damage whatsoever. I wouldn't even bother putting the Crescent Pike on her because with these kinds of stats, physical damage will not help whatsoever. And because this is a infusion on a weapon, that means that physical damage will not work anyway. And attack percent also barely works because there is no real attack here to get a percentage of. So don't worry about getting attack percent on Hu Tao. You're going to be focusing mainly on getting crit because she has crit damage as her ascension stat, along with her weapon, the Staff of Homa. So Hu Tao's attack gained will not exceed 400% of Hu Tao's base attack. Now, base attack is your attack here, which is 106, which is laughably low on a maxed out Hu Tao, plus whatever your weapon. And her signature weapon being the Staff of Homa, which has 608 base attack. We compare the Staff of Homa to something like the Primordial Jade Spear. For a 5-star weapon, it still has a lot less attack, but the nice part here is this crit damage multiplier. So you will get a crit damage multiplier on the weapon if you do go for her Staff of Homa, and you will get a crit damage multiplier on her Ascension stat. So you're really going to have very, very high crit damage just in general. So building critical rate will be very important on Hu Tao. Along with building up your HP, and then after critical rate and HP, you should focus on probably elemental mastery and any pyro damage bonus that you can get. If we keep looking at her abilities, her attacks are infused with pyro, and charged attacks will apply a Blood Blossom effect to enemies hit, and she will gain increased resistance to interruption. So the increase to interruption means that she can get hit a couple of times and still keep on attacking, which is very nice. This skill will always cost 30% of Hu Tao's HP to use. So like I said, she plays a lot with her own life pool to gain bonuses in damage. So she will play around with her own life and with your life in Genshin Impact to increase her damage. You're gonna want to sit her at around 75% health. That way, when you activate this, she'll activate one of her passives that I'll get to a little bit later. Now, it is also said that during her E skill here, whenever she does her charged attack, rather than jumping and doing a drill, she'll turn into a ghost and phase through enemies. This is not confirmed information. This is something that I heard down the pipelines. Essentially, she can phase through shields using this ability. Anyone holding up a shield, she can just ignore and go straight through. Now, again, this isn't confirmed, so don't get your hopes up. This is, although something that might be really fun to play around with if it is true. Now, the Blood Blossom effect is what is applied every time you use your charged attack. So enemies affected by Blood Blossom will take pyro damage every 4 seconds. This damage is considered elemental skill damage. Each enemy can be affected by only one Blood Blossom at a time, and its duration may only be refreshed by Hu Tao herself. Paramita Papilio ends when the duration is over, or Hu Tao has left the battlefield or fallen. So, Hu Tao has to be on the field for her Papilio to explode and do damage. It basically applies a damage over time mark, kind of like Child. I expect it to work very similar to Child, where it will explode every 4 seconds, and then if you hit them again, it will reapply that mark, and in 4 seconds they will take more damage. I don't think that continuous hits against the same target will keep refreshing this timer so that it's 4 seconds and then 4 seconds and 4 seconds every hit. That would, I think, be a little silly, and if Mihoyo does go with that, God help us all. So, this is a great way to do increased pyro damage. As you can see, there's a theme here. She does a lot of pyro damage, which is why I'm thinking that the best kind of ways to build her will be on like melt or vaporize comps. I have a couple in mind that I think would work pretty good, but let's continue with her abilities. Continuing on, her ultimate move, her elemental burst, she commands a blazing spirit to attack, dealing pyro damage in a large AoE. Upon striking enemies, regenerates a percentage of Hu Tao's maximum HP. This effect can be triggered up to 5 times based on the numbers of enemies hit. So the more enemies around, the more damage it does, and the more HP she can regenerate. If Hu Tao is below 50% HP, then when enemies are hit, both the damage and HP regeneration is increased. So this is going to be a skill that if you're using against multiple enemies, you're going to want to use it while you're very low. That way your health doesn't go above the 50%, and you will keep this increased damage and HP regeneration. This also helps because she will cut down her HP by quite a bit with her E skill, so this will help keep her alive and on the field. Now, as we can see, cooldown wise, this is 16 seconds on an E ability, which is ridiculously long, and this cooldown is 15 seconds. Now, again, these aren't final cooldowns, but it's almost intended so that both of these will be up at the same time. You're most likely going to want a secondary DPS on Hu Tao's team, because when her skills are down, she will not do a lot of damage. She is very based around doing her elemental skill. She's going to be a very bursty damage dealer that plays around with her health. She'll be very tanky to start off with, but once you're doing damage, you'll be very squishy. So you're going to have to play around with Hu Tao's health to get the most out of her. And the same goes with like her signature weapon, the Staff of Homa. This has a special ability where it increases your health by 20%. And additionally, it provides an attack bonus based off of 0.8% of a wielder's max HP. And if you're less than 50% HP, then your increase is by an additional 1% of your maximum HP. So this is essentially 1.8% increase damage on based on your maximum HP, which is again really good for Hu Tao, because Hu Tao doesn't gain her bonuses through attack percents. She's going to be gaining all of her damage through pyro damage bonus, through crit damage, through crit rate, and through her elemental skills and abilities working off of her HP. So HP is very important on Hu Tao. Now, if we go into some of her passives, when Hu Tao cooks a dish perfectly, she has an 18% chance to receive an additional suspicious dish of the same type. That's just kind of a funny little passive saying that she sometimes cooks really badly, very suspicious looking things. Essentially, when you cook a suspicious dish, it gives you less stats than some of the other well-cooked dishes, and it takes the same amount of resources, but here you're getting that dish for free. So it's not like that's going to be very useful. It's just kind of like a little funny joke in there saying that Hu Tao is a little suspicious when she's cooking for you. Now, this one's interesting. When Paramita Papilio, which is her E skill, Guide to the Afterlife is over, all allies in the party, excluding Hu Tao herself, will have their crit rate increased by 12%. for 8 seconds. So this is to help with this 16-second cooldown. Is after she uses her E skill, you want to switch her out to your secondary DPS option and use them with the increased crit rate. Hu Tao will not be gaining this crit rate, so you definitely want a secondary DPS to work with Hu Tao. She's going to work as a very bursty, tanky sub DPS role. Now, here's the last one. When Hu Tao's HP is equal to or less than 50%, her pyro damage bonus is increased by 33%. So you gain an additional 33%. That's an artifact, when you're below 50% health. So this is the real bread and butter. You want to get Hu Tao down below 50% health. So again, because this takes about 30% of your health, you want to sit at around 75% of your health pool to get the bonus damage from this, to get the bonus damage if you get the Staff of Homa, and to get the bonus damage just in general for Pyro. So this is how she's going to get all of her damage, is with this skill here, and then ending with your ultimate move and making sure that your health is below 50% when you're trying to do DPS. So let's go into some of her constellations, just in case you guys are planning on getting more than one constellation. I only have enough wishes to get one constellation on Hu Tao, but to all the wiser, just help with everything. While in Permetia Papilio state, which is her E, Hu Tao's charged attacks do not consume stamina. This is ridiculously good. This means that she can just spam her charged attacks, and her charged attack multipliers are actually really good. That's where most of her damage comes from, is from her charged attacks. So not having to consume stamina and just spam charged attack is ridiculous. So if you do want Hu Tao, Constellation 1 is definitely the way to go if you want Hu Tao to be like your main carry. Constellation 2, increase the Blood Blossom damage by the amount equal to 10% of Hu Tao's max HP at the time that the effect is applied. Additionally, Spirit Soother will also apply to Blood Blossom effect. So, increases the Blood Blossom's damage by 10% of Hu Tao's max HP, and at the same time the effect is applied. Additionally, Spirit Soother will also apply the Blood Blossom effect. So essentially this makes it so that your ult can then apply this passive hit that you could only apply with your charged attacks before. So that's more pyro application, and now she will scale even harder with max HP. Before, she's sitting at a sweet spot because she does have that kind of cap. So if you don't have the Staff of Homa and you don't have Constellation 2, there is definitely going to be a sweet spot of how much HP you have just to get this to maximize it, because you can only you cannot exceed 400% of Hu Tao's base attack. So keep that in mind, that if you don't have Constellation 2 or Staff of Homa, building her full HP will stop giving you bonuses at a certain point. Now over here, upon defeating an enemy affected by Blood Blossom that Hu Tao applied herself, all nearby allies in the party, excluding Hu Tao, will have their crit rate increased by 12% for 15 seconds. So if Hu Tao basically kills a unit with her passive ability, then all of your other characters will get increased crit. This is to help her so that you can switch her off and still do a lot of damage with the rest of your team when she's in her low damage down state. And finally, triggers when Hu Tao's HP drops below 25% or suffers a lethal hit. Hu Tao will not fall as a result of the damage sustained. Additionally, for the next 10 seconds, all of her elemental and physical resistance is increased by 200%. That's pretty nuts. And her crit rate is increased by 100%, and her resistance to interruption is greatly increased. So she just stops caring about everything. And she basically triggers this rage that she cannot die. This effect triggers automatically when Hu Tao has 1 HP left. Can occur once every 60 seconds. So this is, again, an incredibly busted, like most characters, final constellation. When Hu Tao goes very, very low in her health pool or takes lethal damage, she is going to just become insane and do lots of damage and just be awesome. So if you're looking at all of that of Hu Tao, she does look great. She's this cute little goth girl. And if you're looking to get her, there are definite ways for her to be good. So don't be scared of this really, really low base attack. Just know that if you have attack percent artifacts, I actually believe you can get more attack on Hu Tao using flat attack artifacts than you can with how the multipliers work than with attack percent, because that is low. That is very low. Now, let's get into some team builds of what would probably work well with Hu Tao. So if we look at some of the characters, now a team that I was thinking would be pretty good. So let's pretend Zhang Ling is Hu Tao. Then a decent team, this is what I was thinking would be very good. Kaya, he can apply ice and has very long duration, and he can also work as a sub DPS character. So this works very well with Hu Tao because you have someone who can switch to. You can then apply ice, which then you can do melt, and Hu Tao's damage will be get the 2x multiplier, which is going to be crazy. And because of his elemental burst sticking around, when Hu Tao is autoing and every single auto is applying pyro and he is applying ice all the time, this would be a very nice combo. Now, to add on to that, I think Jin Q would be very, very good too, because again, every single one of Hu Tao's autos are going to be applying pyro when she infuses her auto attack. Again, you're going to have to wait. There's that couple second downtime before you can get another elemental reaction. But because of how fast Hu Tao hits with a spear, how long her ability is up, she's probably the character that can make the best use out of Jin Q. So if you have a very strong Jin Q, he's gonna vaporize a lot, and he could actually be the main source of damage for a Hu Tao team. Now, if we're looking to polish off the team, what would be a good choice? Most likely Bennett. You know, Bennett works best in every situation. If I had a Bennett, I would show you, but I'm still the unluckiest person, and I still don't have the unluckiest character in the game. I'm missing Bennett, and Ning Wong is my only two 4 stars I do not own. So of course Bennett is good. He only heals you up to 70% HP as long as you focus more on using Bennett as a damage buffer rather than a healer. Then guaranteed when you use your elemental skill on Hu Tao, she's going to be able to get all of her bonuses, whether you're using the Staff of Homa or not. Now, if you aren't going to be getting the Staff of Homa, I think a polearm that you should definitely look into is going to be the Dragon's Bane. Mainly because this is an increased damage multiplier. It is not an increased attack percent, so that is really nice. And it does elemental mastery, and with the amount of elemental reactions going on with Kaya, with Jin-Q, and Hu Tao, this would be a very, very good option to put on. I do believe this one is worth looking into. Now, another decent option is going to be this new one, the Lithic Spear. It does have an attack percent as its secondary stat, so that isn't all that useful, but for every character who hails from Leeway, gains 7% increased attack and 3% crit rate. So this is going to be nice to add some crit rate if you need it. So I think a decent weapon that you could use on her would be the Blackcliff Polearm. This one, you just need to make a couple wishes and you should have some resources to get one. And it increases crit damage, which is the multiplier that Hu Tao wants on her skills. After defeating opponents, attacks is increased by 12%. You're not going to get huge bonuses out of that. That's why it's probably not the best weapon. I think also a weapon that's worth considering is actually the Royal Spear. So the Royal Spear, if you're unable to get a lot of crit rate on Hu Tao, this is a way to guarantee that she will crit at least some of the time. And with her crit damage multiplier, if you're unable to get like any crit rate or any good crit rate artifacts on your Hu Tao, this is definitely a weapon you should look into, because it does basically guarantee that you're going to be critting some of the time, actually more often than not, when you're using this weapon. So because Hu Tao, you constantly want to be managing her health, letting it go up and down, I actually wouldn't recommend shield characters, because you want to make sure you know where your health is sitting at, and if you're shielding too much of the damage, then you're actually going to get screwed over more than you're going to get benefits from shield characters. So you're definitely going to want to look into characters that can keep her somewhat alive but low. I think Jin-Q is definitely going to be one of her best supports, just because he does give that increased resistances. He heals a little, but not a lot, which is going to be very, very nice. Other teams I would suggest running, you're definitely going to be working a lot off of elemental reactions. So maybe a team centered around doing some elemental reactions, such as these guys would be very good. You can apply some ice. So you're basically going to use Diona to apply ice before you use Hu Tao's elemental burst. That way you can get the 2x multiplier on the burst, which is going to be the highest damage. And you'll use Jin-Q's elemental burst when you're using her E skill, and you're also going to use Sucrose to increase the damages of any pyro ability. So that is a very good team to work on her damage. But then when her elemental skills are down, unless you have Jin-Q as your secondary DPS option, you might be a little out of luck there. Shongyung might be a very good support for Hu Tao also, because he does give increased attack speed. Her elemental skill cannot be overwritten by his ice, so she'll be doing pyro damage within it anyway. So it will only give her increased attack speed, and if you have him Constellation 2, elemental skills and elemental bursts cast within the field have their cooldowns reduced. So that's actually hefty because there's a 16-second cooldown on Hu Tao's abilities. You're actually getting 2.4-ish seconds, like 2.5 seconds off of her E cooldown and her ult cooldown. If you're using Sheng. So Sheng might actually be a very viable option. He can also work as a secondary DPS because he is relatively tanky, and he can lay out some hits. So you can definitely use Sheng in her team. If I was using Sheng, I'd probably do a team like this. Hu Tao, Jinkyu, Diona, Sheng. If you have a Bennett, I would highly recommend using Bennett over Diona, or Jean with Viridescent Verner would be a nice pick. Also, to just help increase that elemental reaction damage, because you are you want to be applying a lot of elemental reactions with Hu Tao, because her pyro damage bonuses on all of her skills and abilities, plus an elemental reaction, are gonna equal really, really big damage numbers. So I'm gonna guess that Hu Tao is gonna be very good at getting elemental reaction DPS numbers, and that's where her DPS is actually gonna be coming from. So I hope that I gave you some good informative information of Hu Tao, the Wangsheng funeral parlor owner. I hope that you, if you want this adorable little goth girlfriend on your team, that you can get her and you have all the wishes saved up. And as always, best of luck with your wishes, and I hope ye get all the booty ye desire. See Briney out.